Hi, this is Lee Brower. I'm coming to you live from Santa Monica, California. This is the real deal. This week it's not a green screen. So thank you for joining me today for Meaningful Monday. Last week we talked about today I've learned that, and to fill it in and then say, what am I going to do with that new learning? You can also say, this last week I learned that. So last week I learned that a smart man learns from his own experiences. A wise man learns from the experiences of others. So I'm going to try to be a little wise today and think back about the wonderful experiences I've had this last week in learning from other people. And it started right out of the blocks. It started last week at the very beginning of the week, right after we had Meaningful Mondays, and then carried on throughout the week as I went to Toronto this last week, spent the week with some amazing people, some amazing coaches with Strategic Coach and Dan Sullivan and Babs, and what a fantastic learning experience that was as I continued to learn from others. Let me share with you one experience, however, that I felt went a little deeper for me and impacted me, and it has to do with scarcity and abundance. And sometimes we don't even realize when we move into that scarcity mentality. Have you ever had somebody, a panhandler, come up to you and say, and ask for some sort of a money? And your mind goes into different places. It moves into judgment, scarcity. What if I give him money? He's just going to go put it on drugs, and or drinking or whatever. And then we rationalize our way out of it. You know, the definition of rationalization is lowering your standards down to your level of behavior, so I can justify my behavior by not contributing. And even though we know that it's not good to judge, we still do that. Well, a friend of mine shared this experience. His first name is Dixon, and he shared it with a number of people that are neighbors of ours. And he shared the experience of being with a colleague, and as they came off a freeway, or as they came off the freeway and were stopped at the stoplight, a panhandler came up to the window. His friend turned to him and said, "Would you hand me that little packet over there?" And he looked, and there were several little packets there, and he grabbed one out and handed it to him. He handed it to the panhandler. The panhandler said, "Thank you." Didn't know what it was, but just said thank you, and off they drove. Well, my friend couldn't help but ask him, what was that? And he says, for years I've always wanted to know how to handle these panhandlers because I do feel guilty, and I try to rationalize my way out of it. But then when my kids were in the car and they see me turn somebody down, what lesson am I giving them? Because truly, in the form of gratitude, shouldn't we be giving without judgment? So what his family did is he sat down and said, what are all the things that somebody that's homeless could actually use and need that would be worthwhile for them? And so they put together this packet that includes things like power bars, granola bars, different personal items that they could use, deodorant. And I'm not going to go too far into the list because some of you may decide to do this. And the benefit of this is not just coming in with somebody else's list, but creating the list yourself with your own team, whether it's your company or your family. Put the list together and be able to do something. But look how this moved this family from the scarcity standpoint to abundance. There's no judgment. They feel good about it. They made an effort to contribute more than they consume. And so this has become a phenomenal lesson for me. And now it's got a life of its own because that friend did it, sitting next to a friend who captured it, who shared it with probably 150 other people, and now I'm sharing it with you, and it's going to have a life of its own. How cool is that? And that is the abundance spirit. It's an exponential thinking as opposed to linear thinking where it just says, well, I'm not going to help that one person. If you choose not to help that one person, then that thinking ends right there. But if you create a concept that can live on its own, it becomes exponential, and it has a life of its own. How cool is that? So that's what I learned this week, is that you can get wise by learning from others if you take it and you do something about it. So what have you learned this week? Can I share a couple of other things? These aren't stories, but these are just ahas that I've had. Amazon gives away tons of money to charity. What they've decided to do is let their customers also participate. They're members. So if you're a Prime member especially, it really works well because I've learned to order tons of stuff from Amazon. And they'll deliver anything that you want. And if you're a Prime member, there's no shipping charge. But if you go into Smile.Amazon. You can name a charity of your choice and they'll do their best to funnel it to that charity. I went in and looked, and sure enough, Empowered Wealth Foundation is there. You can, if you can't think of a charity, put it to the Empowered Wealth Foundation, and about a half a cent or less, roughly, of everything you purchase from Amazon will come into the Empowered Wealth Foundation. Where does that go? Well, it goes right here to support, let me get my mirror right, Wacky. You can probably see it on my back, too. But it supports Wacky. Wacky is Warriors Against Cancer and Kids and Young Adults. Warriors, W-A-C-K-Y. Warriors Against Cancer and Kids and Young Adults. That was a foundation set up by Nick, our son that passed away with cancer. But about a year into his cancer, he was battled with it for 4 years. He said, there's got to be a way that we can make a difference for young adults that are living with cancer, because the mortality rate's the same as it was 40 years ago. Imagine that, with all the technology and everything that's happening, no new advances have really happened that's affected mortality. So here's a way that you can make a difference. If you already have your charity, use it anyway for that. If you don't, put it to Empowered Wealth Foundation. And then buy more things from Amazon. How smart? How smart is Amazon? How ahead of the game are they? So that's my idea for you for this week. I am so grateful to be with you, so grateful for Meaningful Mondays. It makes me accountable to you. What have you learned this week? What are you going to learn today? And what are you going to do with it? Will I see you next week on Meaningful Monday? I hope so. Oh, one other thing. You know me, I don't plan these, so bear with me. We've come out with Empowered Wealth Connect. And Empowered Wealth Connect is a way that we can connect with everybody on a regular and ongoing basis. There'll be book reports in there. The first one's going to be on Plateau, going to success, the effect of going to success, getting from stuck to success. It's by Hugh Jackson Hugh Jackson, Bob Sullivan, I think. Great book. That'll be my first book report. I make a book report on all the books that I think are significant so that I can remember them. So now we'll be sharing those with you. Podcasts, great ideas, great thoughts, and courses that we're putting together that you can use for your family. You can use it in the workplace, wherever. We're just getting started. We're not perfect. But I pretty much guarantee you the content will be good. The delivery will continue to get better. So you should be getting notices on that. If that rings a bell with you, take advantage of it. Okay, so that's it. Now, what have you learned today? What will you learn today? What are you going to learn this week? I'm going to see you next Monday. Thank you for helping me make my days more meaningful. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.